Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really fascinating and I think deeply personal. It's about the way we dress.
But not fashion.
No, not at all. This isn't about trends. This is about, well, it's about physics, self-discovery, and the surprising role fabric plays in who we are.
Or who we are becoming.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we're unpacking this very specific, but I think universally resonant personal story. The theme is dressing for attunement, bringing inside and outside into agreement.
Right. And we're looking at clothing not just as something you wear, but as a kind of essential infrastructure.
Infrastructure. I love that word for it.
Yeah. And the source material actually calls this function co-regulation.
Co-regulation. Okay, break that down.
Well, think of it as this constant, subtle thing we do to keep our inner self, our identity, our feelings in harmony with our physical external reality.
And when it works, you feel right.
You feel comfortable, fluent, present. But when it fails, that's when you feel the friction.
And that friction is exactly what we're exploring today. Our mission here is to understand how one writer, Jaime Hoerricks, a PhD, chronicled the unexpected consequences of a really significant and sudden bodily change.
And how that change affected the very clothes they had made for themselves.
Right. It's this journey from making clothes that were supposed to hold space for a transitioning identity to realizing those same clothes were starting to argue back.
It's such an intimate look at what happens when our plan for ourselves just clashes with, our own biology. That tension.
That tension between what you intend and what physically happens.
That's the engine of this whole story.
It really is. You build this whole support system and then the very ground shifts underneath you. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start at the beginning with the infrastructure the author was so deliberately building.
Right, the clothing saga, as they call it.
Yeah, the clothing saga. The motivation for it was, it was deeply rooted in this need for self-affirmation. They were just tired of fighting with store-bought clothes that didn't match how they saw themselves.
So the solution was to make their own, to sort of catch up to their own body with their own hands.
Exactly. But what's so interesting is that they weren't trying to make high fashion. They were aiming for forgiveness.
Forgiveness. That's a great way to put it. They needed a physical language that wasn't going to judge them or, force them into a shape.
And that simplicity is so key. They describe these first pieces, these tunics, as boxy, peasant adjacent.
Peasant adjacent. I love that.
Me too. And they use straight seams. They specifically say these designs were chosen because they didn't argue back too much.
And that phrase, didn't argue back, that says so much, doesn't it?
Oh, it speaks volumes. It's about being exhausted with that constant physical fight. These clothes weren't meant to cinch or shape you. They were just meant to be temporary containers.
And the function of these containers.
They wanted them to hold me, to make space, and this is the critical part, to let me arrive.
So this really establishes the clothing as infrastructure for, self-perception. It's not about how you look to others, it's about how you feel to yourself.
Yes. And it was all built on one core assumption: time.
The gift of time. The author expected time, years maybe, time to learn, time to refine.
A slow evolution, where the clothes and the self could grow together gently. The whole idea was to bring the inside and outside into agreement over this long, gradual process.
It's an attempt to manage that in-between space with fabric. But, like you said, the whole thing rested on the body sticking to the schedule.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because the story just pivots, It goes from this planned, slow evolution to a sudden biological revolution, that whole idea of a cooperative timeline.
Thrown right out the window.
Completely. We all do that, don't we? In any big life change, we sort of plan for a gentle curve, a nice, easy slope.
Right. And the author had even gotten medical advice that suggested exactly that. Gradual change, a slope, a gentle curve. That's what they were told to expect.
But the body was on a totally different clock. The author says it so plainly. They didn't expect my body to keep moving like this.
What arrived wasn't a gentle curve, it was momentum.
Momentum, yeah. And the author credits genetics, which they describe as being generous, if also a little rude about notice.
I love that. Rude about notice.
It's perfect, because this wasn't some slow progression they could measure and adjust for week by week. The change was fast, it was concentrated.
And it was specifically about chest growth, right?
Exactly. The source describes it so powerfully, it didn't creep in, it arrived fully, suddenly, with weight and drop and consequence.
Wow. So that sudden shift in mass and leverage just immediately violates the whole infrastructure they'd built for a gentle arrival.
It really makes you think what happens to our own plans, our routines, our support systems when reality hits at momentum speed instead of gentle slope speed.
It feels like a betrayal. You build the supportive thing, and then the reality it was supposed to contain just blows it all up.
Totally. And the core realization here, the universal truth in this whole story, is pretty stark. Bodies don't negotiate with plans, they grow on their own clocks.
You can plan all you want, but if that internal clock speeds up, your plan becomes obsolete. Your infrastructure starts to fail.
And the first thing to notice, the revolt. Those simple, forgiving tunics, they noticed immediately.
So we're talking about basic physics here.
Just simple physics. What once skimmed, now pulled. What once rested, now strained. The fabric, which was supposed to be this silent, supportive partner, it literally began to argue.
That must have been so unsettling. It's not just a wardrobe problem, it's a physical sign that the whole alignment project is failing.
And this is where the author gets into some surprisingly precise physics to explain that feeling. It's not just, oh, this feels tight. It's about tangible, uneven strain.
Leverage.
Leverage, exactly. It's leverage working against you, affecting your posture, your breathing, your very presence.
And the author provides a really specific measurement to drive this home.
Yeah.
A 50B doesn't sound dramatic until you understand leverage.
Right. Most of us just hear a size and think about volume, not about the physics of how that volume is distributed.
But leverage is the whole story. The weight itself isn't everything. It's how it's distributed across the frame, especially a tall frame, with weight sitting high up. The strain is immense.
And to make this invisible strain visible for us, the author gives this incredible comparison.
The one about the 34F.
That's the one. They calculate that the physical consequence, the actual strain they're carrying high on their frame, is equivalent to what a 34F carries lower down.
And that comparison is so effective because it takes it out of the realm of personal feeling and into objective, measurable stress. It's not just, I don't like how this feels. It's, this is physically pulling on me.
It shows exactly why just looking at a size on a tag is, kind of useless. Those numbers are generalizations. They don't account for distribution or density or torso length.
So the big conclusion from all this analysis, the thing we should all take away from this is...
The numbers lie. The body does not.
Exactly. The straining fabric, the physical discomfort, that was the truth, regardless of what the plan was supposed to be.
The body is the final judge of whether you're in alignment or not.
Right. If your infrastructure is arguing, your body is telling you something is fundamentally out of sync.
Okay, so if the body demands alignment, how did the author get from that point of friction of the fabric arguing to a resolution?
Well, the sources describe it not like a battle that was won, but more like a quiet but profound change. A change that led to the quiet arrival of she.
So what does that mean? How did they achieve it?
It wasn't through force.
Mm-hmm.
It was through, well, honesty and adaptation. The resolution meant throwing out the old plan and creating new infrastructure.
New seams, new shapes.
New approaches, things that finally matched the reality of the body as it was right then.
So they stopped trying to force the body to fit the clothing.
And start forcing the clothing to fit the body.
Exactly. And the success, the attunement, was felt when that constant physical negotiation just stopped. The discomfort was gone, the pulling and squeezing disappeared.
Movement became fluent, and the clothing stopped hurting.
It went from resistance back to that idea of co-regulation.
Yes. And that feeling of finally being held is so resonant. We all know what it's like to feel awkward or ill-fitting in a space. Attunement brought fluency, and fluency brought presence.
There's a really specific, beautiful anecdote the author uses to describe this feeling.
The school hallway.
Yeah, that feeling of finally being in agreement with your physical space. They say, a school hallway finally held me.
And that's so profound. It suggests that when your internal self and your external physical reality are aligned, the world around you actually feels more welcoming.
It stops feeling like a challenge, like a gauntlet you have to run.
Right. The friction dissolves and you can just be there, be present. It's the ultimate payoff. The simple act of adjusting some seams led to this huge shift in how they felt in the world.
So let's just synthesize this deep dive. We followed a journey that started with simple clothes as a framework for identity.
Then confronted the body's own momentum, its own schedule.
And ended with the absolute necessity of adjusting that physical infrastructure, the clothes to match a new, undeniable reality.
It's a powerful lesson in the need for constant, active self-alignment. Attunement isn't a destination you arrive at. It's a relentless, active negotiation,
You have to keep checking in.
all the time. The writer found peace only by honestly reflecting their new physical truth in the outward structure of their life. The body will always, always demand alignment.
And that brings us to our final provocative thought for you to take away from this deep dive.
If even simple self-made clothing, the infrastructure that is literally closest to your skin, has to be continually adjusted to match your internal reality.
What other, maybe larger forms of infrastructure in your life might also be secretly arguing with who you are right now?
We're talking about your routines, the rigid expectations you have for yourself, maybe even relationships you're in, or the physical space of your home.
What shifts in your own life, mental, emotional, physical, are being silently noticed and resisted by the structures you've built around you? Maybe it's time to check if your infrastructure is still holding you.
Or if it started to argue back.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.